He doesn't talk much. He's calm, collected, quiet, maybe even. That's just who he is, right? Or maybe that's what he was trained to be. Not emotional, not expressive, not needy. This episode, it's not about men being emotionally stunted. It's more about culture that made silence the safest form of survival. And while doing so, call it strength. Sawadee Krap and welcome to another episode here for the Funkapod Mindful Media and Communication. Today, how the ways men are taught to communicate or not communicate are wrecking relationships, self-perception, and, mental health. So, Mental Health Awareness Month, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So let's jump right into it and let's get it straight off the bat. The problem is not that men don't feel. It's more that they've been socially trained to not express. From childhood on, boys get messages like, don't cry, be a man, you're fine, man up, tough it out. You get the gist, right? So what we learn is basically to bottle, to suppress, to swallow words whole. And what starts as like coping becomes character, right? Because you do it a lot. So we're probably becoming more stoic, detached, low maintenance. There's so many words to describe that. But guess what, right? Low maintenance, already flustered. Low maintenance isn't always healthy. It just means I've learned not to ask for help because no one knows how to respond. So I just keep it to myself. And there are reasons for it. As you know, here on the podcast, we talk about theories, which communication theories, still flustered, relate to the topic we discussed. And when it comes to mental health and not communicating, there are quite a few that I think can give us some insights in regards to why do we communicate/not communicate the way we do it. So right now, the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about face work, expectancy violation, and communication privacy. So that's the point where we nerd out, okay? So 3 quick theories, and I appreciate you sticking around, and I promise I'll make it short, but I think those are important theories. So the first one that we put into our mental toolbox is called face work theory, okay? So men are taught to maintain a face, right? To maintain like a persona in the public eye, in the public perception. And for men, very often it's like the face of control. If you're in the public, at work, with peers, like revealing vulnerability kind of like equals the loss of status, if you will. So men, they keep it in, protect the image, okay? So that's like the face work theory. You try to protect the face, your face, the perception that others have of you. And if you're supposed to be perceived as strong, you keep stuff that makes you vulnerable inside. Don't let it out. You're strong, you're okay, you're fine, all good. Second theory is the expectancy violation theory. That is explained the best in a way like this, I think. When men do open up, their audience often fails to respond appropriately, okay? If you tell someone that you're struggling, for example, and you get like a reply like, oh, really? Wow, that's intense. Yeah, no kidding. That's why I'm opening up. Or, hey, you'll get over it. It's okay. Everybody feels like this sometimes. It's okay. You'll get over it. Or, Worse, silence. Awkward, echoing silence. So when the response doesn't match the emotional risk, we call this a violation. So then if your vulnerability gets violated on an emotional level, you're shutting down. You're like, okay, I'm being vulnerable right now. I don't get any response that matches my vulnerability. I'm not going to do it anymore. Okay. So that's the expectancy violation theory. You're expecting at least a little bit. That expectancy is being violated. You're like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. I tried. I opened up. No response. My cry for help gets ignored. Well, I stopped crying. Okay. So second theory. And the third theory, communication privacy management theory. Okay. So it's about, like, as the name suggests, how do you manage your privacy? And men, and I know I'm generalizing, but men manage emotional disclosure more like classified documents, if you will. Yeah, they assess the risk of sharing and then often find the communication climate too unsafe for sharing or too unpredictable to share. Okay, so instead of oversharing, they default to no sharing. Yeah. And as a result, what we see is, of course, emotional isolation, right? Emotional isolation wrapped in, how to call it, like performative normalcy. I think that's a normalcy. Is that the word? Not a native speaker, sorry. But you hopefully understand what I'm saying, right? So we're not oversharing in regards to emotional vulnerability. You're just not sharing because we're assessing and we're like, the risk's not worth the reward, so let's not share. So we wrap everything into like, hey, I'm okay, everything's normal, don't worry. Okay, so performative, I think normalcy is the word, right? Performative normalcy. So now that we have those three theories down, we also have to look into, like, how does the media play a role in this, right? Because, I mean, podcast here is media, mindful media and communication, and you're consuming this on one of the media platforms. So how does the media play into this? How's the media part of all of that, okay? And I think a big part are the emotional narratives that the media helps to spin, and also filters, like masculinity filters that we see in the media. But let me explain, okay? Because it's important that we understand that media, of course, plays a role in everyday life all the time, basically 24/7. And yes, before you hate on me for being like, hey, no, but there's vulnerable content. Yeah, we've seen a rise in emotional expression. But oftentimes, those come with conditions. I'm explaining again. Most male vulnerability we see in public and in the media follows a script. It's like crisis, breakdown, redemption, TED Talk. Right? Think about it. All those influencers, particularly the male influencers that are sharing, like, how they struggle with something, it might follow that formula. Crisis, breakdown, redemption, motivational TED Talk. Tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, I hit rock bottom, but now I tell CEOs how to live their life. I was depressed, but now I run ultra marathons. Or I used to struggle a lot, but then I got shredded and now I started journaling. Yeah, that's great. But you've seen this, right? Where are the stories that do not resolve like a LinkedIn post? Where are the stories where someone struggles and doesn't end up being a high performer all of a sudden? Where's the space for ongoing struggle, for vulnerability without the productivity arc at the end? It's all everything you see online, all the vulnerable content, it's all storytelling. It's like a movie. It's like a series. Struggle is this. I teach storytelling, right, at university. It's the hero's journey. You have a guy sets out on something, starts to struggle, gets stuff thrown at him, her, they, them, but we're talking men's mental health awareness right now. Overcomes the struggles, more struggles, wants to give up, overcomes the big struggle, and then in the end there's a redemption arc, ta-da, hero. Where's the normal stuff? Where people that keep struggling, right? Those don't trend. That's why we don't see it, okay? Because unresolved emotions do not fit the algorithm. And if it doesn't optimize into a brand, a hustle, or a personal breakthrough, it's considered unmarketable. And then no one's going to interact with it. No engagement. So now the question is, right, since we don't see this content, like what actually happens when men do open up? Short version, many times, nothing really good. And what I said earlier, because it happens a lot, right? And the fact that you're listening to this probably means you're different, which is good. But very often it happens. Like your guys open up about something, like struggling, not doubting, being depressed maybe even. And then they get like, hey, come on, just stay busy. Yeah. Have you tried lifting? And I gotta say, like, I when I don't feel well, I go to the gym too, for example, right? Stop being dramatic. Bro, yo, come on, just get over it. It's just a feeling, right? And it's not to blame individuals. It's about systems behind that, okay? Most people simply aren't taught how to respond to vulnerability, and in particular, of course, to male vulnerability. And we're not going to make this a gender thing right now, but again, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, so that's why we focus on this right now. It's not to say that different vulnerabilities have different weights. Of course not, right? Just to make that clear. But we've built communication norms that only know how to process like anger, acceptable, humor, which is welcome, and drive, right, which is celebrated. But sadness, fear, confusion, they kind of crash your social operating system. And like, I don't know how to respond. And men learn it's safer to shut up than to be misunderstood. If you think about it, if you're in a like personal relationship, professional relationship, whatever that might be, you struggle with something. Do you really open up to partner, friend, colleagues, or do you think, if I say this now, they might misunderstand, that might not be worth it, I gotta figure it out, it's okay. Exactly, right? But the problem is, staying silent comes at a high cost. Because here's what happens when silence becomes default, okay? The depression very often is like masked as disinterest. Like he's not interested in anything, even though he might be, but he's being depressed, right? Or anxiety gets mislabeled as burnout, or worse, just tired, just relax, take a few days off, you're gonna be okay, right? Or loneliness gets buried under career goals, gym routines, and so on. And the worst of all, the deeper the silence, the harder it becomes to break it, right? The more you dig into like, okay, I do it myself, I figure things out, and the more silent you become, the harder it gets to actually find a way out of that silence. So it's also important to understand that mental health doesn't just implode overnight. It's not just like you wake up and you're depressed, right? It erodes like very slowly. It creeps in the spaces between what we feel and what we say. And we need to acknowledge that, and I know I'm going to get backlash for this, but we need to acknowledge that stoicism, which is very trendy right now, and I appreciate all the stoic wisdom as well. Yeah, Ryan Holiday's IG page, great. But we need to acknowledge that stoicism can sometimes be like trauma in a suit, if you will. And it's not to say that Stoicism is bad. I follow also Stoicism pages. I like the wisdom that Stoics gave us. That's great. But if Stoicism for the person consuming the content equals just being quiet, that's not the right conclusion. And Ryan Holiday actually said as much on different podcasts as well, just to make sure I'm not misunderstood here, right? So sometimes this being just calm and quiet and taking everything in can be stoic, but if you take it too far, it could be this trauma in a suit. And we have to see where it's at in that, or in every single instance, actually. So what should we do? I think we should change the communication culture without making men perform like therapy on mics, says the guy with the podcast. So let's go beyond the usual men should just talk more cliche, because yeah, but it's hard to do. Just talk more. Go. Doesn't work like this, right? Talking to who? In what context? With what safety net? Do I just like jump out there? So let's break down some real life shifts that we might be able to make, okay? So first of all, I think we should normalize unpolished emotion. What do I mean? Yeah, men don't need to turn every struggle into a branded transformation. I felt depressed and then I did this and now I'm shredded and I'm doing this. Let feelings be messy. That's okay. Let talks be meandering. Allow emotions without edits. You don't need to get instant conclusions when you share emotions. Okay, that's important. And teach people how to listen. Not respond, not fix. Just hold space without flinching, moralizing, or changing the subject. Sometimes all it takes is someone that actively listens, shares the space, gives the space, is there for the person without trying to jump to conclusions. Because believe me, believe us, believe everyone, everybody who struggles with something mentally tried to fix it, try to come to conclusions. Okay. Also, maybe we should just expand our emotional vocabulary. Yes, sad doesn't mean weak. Lonely doesn't mean pathetic. Crying doesn't mean someone's broken. Yeah, men need more than angry and fine in their lexicon. And we have to normalize that. And lastly, model relational risk. It's not about dumping your feelings online. It's about making, small, high-trust disclosures in safe spaces. And then responding when others do the same. So don't just go on IG Live and just cry and then expect something to happen. Not gonna work, right? It needs to be in the right space, in a safe space, in a safe environment, talking to people that will listen. And when they say something, you also listen, okay? So that is important. Yeah, that's a very tough episode this time around, I understand. Just some final notes before we wrap it up. If you're a guy, right, who doesn't talk about how you feel, that's okay. You're not failing or anything. That's important. You're fluent in a communication system that doesn't serve you. And we are all in there. We've all been in there. And it's never too late to stick with that metaphor, to switch dialects, to change the language. So maybe this month, since it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, start small and say something honest before you feel ready, or text someone back with more than just all good, or admit even silently, that's okay, what you're holding in. And sometimes admitting it to yourself is the first step. And the thing is, strength isn't staying silent. Strength is breaking silence when everything tells you not to break it. So if you want to be strong, break the silence. Until then, stay safe, take care, and we talk next time. Sawadee khap.